everybody. Welcome back. This is another episode of Fat Guy Sports Talk. As always, I am Aaron, joined by...
I'm TJ.
And it might look a little different this week. It's just the two of us. We totally cut Tyler out of the show because fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's a prick.
No, we joke. Tyler will be back here in a couple weeks. He's on vacation, so for really, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so... we asked him to I asked him to record because you're on vacation, you can still access Zoom. Well, not according to his wife, so.
Yeah, I don't want him to sleep on the couch, man.
Yeah.
He has a bad back. It'd be bad for him.
He does have a bad back. Anyways, we'll get rolling here. So we haven't talked about the Raiders to kick off a show. So, TJ, that's your team.
Depressingly enough. So Raiders went to Foxborough and got absolutely destroyed by Cam Newton and the Patriots.
No. They got destroyed by Rex Burkhead and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, if you look at the stats, if you're looking at the most impactful person on that team, I don't give it to Rex Burkhead. Yeah, he had a couple of good runs, but Sony Michel ran over 117 yards. And Rex Burkhead, that whole running game was nuts. Yeah. Cam Newton, 162 yards, touchdown, interception. Rex Burkhead, 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. Their running game is really tough, and the Raiders' defense is still very young and still kind of developing. You have, one edge rusher everybody loves, in Max Crosby. I think he, at a top shelf level, is like a Daniel Hunter. He's going to get you 10 and a half to 12 sacks a game kind of guy.
A game? That's like NFL record.
Yeah, sorry. No, year. I hope he gets him 10 to 12 a game. That would be outstanding.
That'd be nice.
But I think he's a little bit better in the run game than, just like a pure pass rusher. But he's still young. They're still developing. Their corners are all super young. Their safety, you have the rookie. I mean, he's not technically a rookie, but it's his first year playing in Abram back there. They have a lot of holes, and they really got exposed defensively. Offensively, 24, 32, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions from Derek Carr. Josh Jacobs, over 4 yards a carry. But they really are hurt with not having an explosive weapon if you take Darren Waller away. Because they took him out of that game, and he had nobody to throw to, and Carr just looks pedestrian. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't like throwing the ball down the field like he used to. He's gun-shy in the pocket. I think he's still a bit afraid of when he broke his back, and he just hasn't recovered. He doesn't have that confidence throwing the ball. He acts like it. He walks the walk outside of the field. He talks the talk outside of the field, but in game situations, he has been mediocre. He's not really inspiring to watch.
Yeah, they're a mediocre team. They're not bad, but they're not good. But yeah, your point exactly. If Darren Waller's not doing anything, 4 targets, 2 catches, 9 yards. If that's the production you're getting out of your star receiver, you're going to be in trouble. Carr did spread the ball around a lot. He had 9 guys that had, at least a catch. But you need to get that big target involved at some point. And Josh Jacobs didn't really do much to help. He had a decent game, like you said, 4 yards a carry, but for only 71 yards and 16 carries. Had he got 20, 25 carries, been a little more productive, game might have been a little closer.
I would agree with that one. Kind of moving on, we talked about the Bears last week, so we'll talk about them last this week. Going into the Packers, again, outstanding offensive performance. 37 points put up on the board. Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdowns, 283 yards. Aaron Jones, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Aaron Jones also, 2 grabs, 17 yards for you fantasy enthusiasts. And then the big surprise, I think, was Allen Lazard for 6 grabs on 8 targets for 146 yards and a touchdown. That's a big step up for him. I don't necessarily believe those stats. I don't think he's that kind of player. But I do think when Devontae Adams comes back, he can at least be a decent enough complement where you're not really afraid of who's opposite, Adams. Drew Brees continued to struggle a little bit, though his stats were decent. He just wasn't really making the kind of throws you're accustomed to seeing Drew Brees throw, even though he was efficient.
He seems so gun-shy. Mm-hmm. How many times I saw him double clutch and not want to throw downfield, rather than to just dump it off to Kamara or a tight end underneath. That's not the Drew Brees we're used to seeing. He
I think he
misses.
has a lack of confidence in his receivers because you don't have Michael Thomas.
Yeah. And he doesn't have Ted Ginn anymore either. I mean, people might overlook that, but that was a veteran target that he could, be confident with. But I mean, when you have Traquan Smith out there as your number one guy, and he still hasn't gotten that.
Well, no, you have Emmanuel Sanders.
I mean, I was getting to that, yeah. But he still doesn't have a relationship with him yet, and he needs to get that. Otherwise, he's just going to dump it off to Kamara, who, for fantasy's sake,
13 receptions, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the 6 carries for 58 yards he got on the ground. Yeah. Latavius Murray, 12 carries for 58 yards. We're going to talk about Raiders too, by the way, former Raider. But he averaged 4.8. The thing that about the receivers is Emmanuel Sanders is a great complement to Michael Thomas. He is not a guy that you look at as your number one receiver. He is a possession guy. He does not have that. He never really had that burner speed, but he was the faster between, Thomas and him in Denver. So I don't really know what they're going to be doing throwing the ball. I mean, they do have Jared Cook, who's known as a receiving tight end, but he's also really old. Yeah. Traquan Smith needs to find himself open and run his routes. Otherwise, that offense is going to struggle if Brees has nobody you can rely on throwing the football to. But I don't know. That the thing that's, everyone's really excited, and all you're hearing is talks about, the Packers setting this offensive record for them with, the first 3 games all over 30-some points. And the thing that people are not talking about is the fact that they have now given up 30 points in 3 straight games.
Yeah, the defense is suspect. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's one thing to say the Saints are playing at home. Saints are really good at home. The Saints are really good at home because they have a fan base at home. And that stadium is hard to play in. And what happened last week is they lost to the Packers. They still put up 30 points, yeah, but the Packers have not been playing that great of offenses to be giving up 30 points. And the thing is that's surprising me is you look at that and you go, you see 30, you see 40 points on the board. Just looking at the stats over briefly, you're like, wow, that offense is really good. That's incredible, but they must have been, that's just a ton of short scores. The Packers have been dominating all management field. So the fact that they are giving up short, quick scores to other teams is very concerning to me, especially if you're talking about this being a Super Bowl year, because that's what fans in Green Bay are thinking with a 3-0 team is they're Super Bowl bound. Right now, this team would get murdered by the Kansas City Chiefs because they can't stop anybody.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Murdered by Baltimore. They traditionally struggle with mobile quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson will destroy them. Any quarterback that can really fit the ball in and throw tight is going to decimate this defense, and it worries me a little bit.
Who I think also could probably beat them, and shockingly enough, the Cowboys. Look at what that offense does.
I don't necessarily – so I think, yes, that's offensively, if you matched up with that defense, I like that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas's defense is just as bad.
Yeah, they're just as bad. Don't get me wrong.
And I'm going to go with the quarterback. If you have 2 terrible defenses and you got quarterbacks up, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones far more over Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott.
Just got to play devil's advocate here, though.
2.8 yards, though.
Yeah, devil's advocate here, though. Dak Prescott's already thrown for 1,100 yards this year. Rodgers hasn't cracked 1,000 yet. So, I mean, granted, Dak Prescott has had to throw the ball more. But, I mean, put those 2 teams together, I think it could be quite a shootout. You're looking at, a 49-48 game, possibly.
And that's what it would basically boil down to, would be a shootout. I don't think it would be close. I think Green Bay's defense is a little bit better than Dallas, and I don't think Dallas's offense is that much better. I really just think they had a great game. And keep in mind, Dak Prescott threw for 400 yards because Ezekiel Elliott has done garbage yet again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's that run scheme, if Mike McCarthy has took over play calling and didn't tell anybody, but they cannot run the football to save their life. And they have one of the best backs in the NFL at that. So I don't know what's going on there.
I'm glad I picked the right Cowboy this year, and I took Prescott over Zeke in my draft.
I was debating it. I was really debating it, and then I went with the brilliant decision of going with Saquon Barkley. Though I will say, I've rebounded nicely. James Robinson has been wonderful to me. So, do you want to talk about the Bears?
Yeah, the Bears had big news. They are still unbeaten. Shocking. After the Falcons did what they usually do and choke late in game. But the biggest news out of that game, Mitch Trubisky done. The Trubisky era seems to be over. Nagy
About
announced a few
damn time.
Yes, Nagy announced a few days later that Foles will be the starter going forward. I gotta just say, I texted Tyler in the middle of that game. I'm like, Foles needs to be playing in this game. Like, I'm sick of watching Trubisky. He was 0 for 5 on throws over 20 yards. He cannot throw downfield. He stares down his receiver still. He cannot read a defense. It's just not there. I like the guy. He's one of the most likable guys the Bears have ever had. I don't hate him, but what we expected out of him is just not there. And when Foles came in that game, he had a few drives to knock the rust off,
I
but
mean, keep in mind, like, he started that game throwing an interception, too.
right.
Before he really
That's another point, though. Allen Robinson, for wanting this contract extension, that's 2 straight weeks he's had a ball ripped from his hands. If you want to be a receiver, you need to come down with those balls. And that interception was not on Foles. That interception was on Robinson. That would have been a touchdown. And he would have had another touchdown too had Anthony Miller not dropped that pass. But when he came in, the whole team just kind of seemed to like flip a switch and play so much better, including the defense. And I think that's what they were lacking.
I almost feel like that team believed in Nick Foles, but the coaching staff really wanted to see if they could get at least some maturation out of Trubisky, and that didn't happen. I mean, Trubisky showed flashes of brilliance, and I think he could be a great backup if his backup appearances are the good Trubisky we saw rather than the bad. But I don't think Nick Foles is a starting quarterback in this league. I don't think the Bears are as good as their record is. And, Bill Parcells coined the line, you are what your record says you are. So as of right now, they're an unbeaten team. But you look at them, they're a 3-0 team that could very easily be 0-3.
Yes.
And I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that they are the worst undefeated team right now. I would even put some 2-1 teams above them.
Keep in mind
the Foles play like he did down the stretch in Philly. And then I think the Bears can be very good. Also, Allen Robinson needs to hang on to the goddamn football. Yes, he had 13 targets for 10 yards and 13 targets for 10 receptions, 123 yards and a touchdown. That's fantastic. That's the Allen Robinson you want to see. But the stat line, if that's what you're looking for, doesn't say everything. You have to look down and you have to watch him play. He's not running very crisp routes either. He's not really fighting for the football as much. He kind of grabs it and thinks, okay, that's over, and forgets that cornerbacks are a thing and their job is to take the ball away from you.
He wants,
and you should know that playing in Chicago. I remember this year when I was watching a different game, Bears weren't even involved. Somebody punched out a football and they called it the peanut punch.
Yep, that's what.
Where did he do that? Chicago. You should know better in Chicago to not hold on to that football. If you have a move cornerbacks have made to punch the ball out, hold on to the football in Chicago, and he's not doing it. Foles, though, I mean, yeah, he started out rough. I looked at it and I was like, wow, Foles is doing terrible too. Atlanta's going to walk away with this game. And then 16 to 29 for 188 yards, 3 touchdowns and interception. The question I'm asking is that Nick Foles lifting that team up and getting them the win, or is that another implosion from Atlanta?
It's a little bit of both, if you ask me. It is.
I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. I don't know how Dan Quinn still has a job. Dirk Cutter is the worst offensive coordinator I think I've seen that gets that much hype. He's so overrated. He did terrible in Tampa Bay. He was good at one point in Atlanta, and now Atlanta can't seem to do shit in the fourth quarter. Now, one thing I will say is I have defended Matt Ryan religiously. He lost that game.
Yeah.
He went, I think it was 8 straight incompletions or something like that down the stretch.
Yeah. Not to mention the ugly pick where he just totally misread the coverage.
Yeah. That was the pick that I was talking about. 8 straight, a terrible interception. Matt Ryan cost them that game. They lost by 4 points, so they should have won that, or at very least been in field goal range to get a little bit closer on that and maybe take a little oomph out of Chicago's sails.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn needs to figure out what it is, because I can only imagine if I'm Matt Ryan and I'm sitting on that bench in the late part of the third quarter and I have a 20-point lead, that I start getting anxiety because I'm watching my defense give away game after game after game. And this is stretched back to the Falcons Super Bowl appearance.
Mm-hmm.
They have been doing this since then. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, you can say, oh, Julio Jones is out. They're still putting up damn near 30 points. You know, Calvin Ridley is tearing it up without Julio Jones there. He's had 100 yards in receiving, I think, in every game. They might have been week one he didn't. But outside of Ridley, there's really nothing there. Gage had a very quiet.
Gage got knocked out.
Yeah. So
here's the thing also to think about with the Bears and why not to look into too much of them at 3-0, that I'm not that impressed. They beat the Lions without Kenny Galladay. They beat the Giants after losing Saquon Barkley early in the game.
That doesn't matter. The Giants were going to be still
right. But
one of the
I'm
worst.
not. Yeah, let me finish
But
it.
yeah, I get
They beat the Falcons without Julio Jones, and they won all those games by 4 points. Those are games any good team that without those players should have walked all over those teams. And the fact that they only win by 4 points.
Well, not any team, but a 3-0 team that.
Right, a 3-0 team. Yes. So they're going to get their first test this coming week here with Indianapolis. Believe it or not, it's going to be the best team that they've played so far. I would like to say it too.
I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I believe that. Atlanta, I think, is better than what they're doing. Granted, if they don't get help on their defense, they're going to be 0-6.
That defense is awful, though. They rank on near dead last in like every category almost.
I honestly put the Colts on the same pace as I do the Lions. I think that the Colts have far more potential. I think whenever you have Phillip Rivers and Hilton and, a healthy team, I think they have a chance to be a little bit better. But I don't know. The Colts are really disappointing me. I thought they would be winning this division. And I don't know.
That division's
not winning the division,
but
like second in the division. I think Tennessee's going to walk away with that division. But if they stop getting their players sick.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, something that I am surprised that they do not do, and I am surprised they have not announced they are going to do, granted it's 3 days after Sunday, is same-day testing. Even if it's a POC test, which is one of the ones that you can get back the same day. You need to do something, because you just put a ton of people's physical health on the line to be able to host a game because you're not testing on Sundays. And granted, maybe they don't show up Sunday, but maybe you take some of those players out. If one person does pop, you don't risk exposing not only another team that is going to another city, but your own team. Right. And I don't know. I believe they said they're trying to look at like a Monday or a Thursday night option to replay the Titans Steelers game, which has been postponed.
Yeah.
But they haven't released much on that. The one game I did want to talk about a little was Tampa Bay. We have given Tom Brady a lot of shit on this show, a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
He looked like the Tom Brady of old. He was moving in the pocket a lot smoother. He was jumping up in the pocket. His throws were a lot better. He looked very good and kind of like the Tom Brady of old. And I'm kind of excited to see, is this going to be Tom Brady going forward now that he's more comfortable in this brand new offense he's learning? Or was that just a fluke? And I'm very excited to see how kind of that plays out, because I honestly thought he would be just terrible all season long. And he showed up a little bit. So
yeah. 25-38, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Like, that's the Tom Brady performance
is the most impressive thing for me. Now, let's keep in mind, because a lot of this is everyone gets excited when they see stats and they see good play. He did this against Denver.
Yeah.
So if you're a Tom Brady fan and you just liked hearing that, we think Tom Brady might be back, he did it against the Denver Broncos. So measure your excitement a little bit.
Yeah. And not to mention their defense, too. They did it against Jeff Driscoll and then Brett Rippon.
Ripien, yeah. But I think Driscoll is getting the nod again this week. So
Is he?
Anybody playing Denver in fantasy, start the defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that and the Jets. Anybody who's playing anybody against the Jets, I know you want to talk a little bit about them.
I think Adam Gase needs to be fired. I thought he needed to be fired last year. I think the fact that he has a job right now is ridiculous. I do like Adam Gase to an extent. I don't think he should be a head coach.
No.
I think he needs to step back into a positional coach role and then reevaluate if he can be an offensive coordinator. Because his claim to fame was Peyton Manning, throwing all those touchdowns, winning a Super Bowl with him. That was his claim to fame, was the Peyton Manning era in Denver. Then he went to Tennessee as a head coach. And I have been defending Tannehill since he got brought into this league. And he did very little for me to have his back. But there's something about Tannehill I saw in college that I did see in flashes in the pros where I thought Tannehill was going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. And Adam Gase went there, and I was really excited about it. And then Ryan Tannehill was garbage. And then Adam Gase leaves, and Ryan Tannehill goes to Tennessee, and he becomes the most efficient quarterback in the NFL and leads his team to the AFC Championship. I would be shocked if Adam Gase had a job at the end of next week, let alone the end of this week. I don't think they're going to win this Sunday. If they do, fantastic, but it's going to be a suckfest with the Jets and the Broncos. So this is the one chance Adam Gase has to get a win.
Thursday night game, isn't it?
Yeah, and you better make this game look pretty. Because if it's not a pretty game, you could get fired even with a win because you're playing Denver.
Yeah, that's a town too that's not afraid to tell you how they feel if you're playing.
What, New York?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
Not to mention, I have my own things about Adam Gase. He was the Bears' offensive coordinator for a couple seasons with Cutler and Marshall.
Jay Cutler did do okay under Gase. I'll give him credit for that.
As like you said, as a positional coach, he's fine. He's great. He just cannot lead a team. I forget the stat, but he's lost at least 10 games by more than 11 points.
Yeah, and you would think where your specialization is in offense, that would be the best unit you have.
Yeah.
Now, granted, maybe Sam Darnold is just that bad, and you can't go for it. But at the same time, why is your defensive unit the most efficient unit you have if you're the head coach and your specialization is offense? It says a lot that the on your team is one that you don't have control over. It's you're controlling the offense. You have somebody else controlling your defense is the way I understand it works in New York. I might be off base on this, and if I am, please tell me. But
before we get off the Jets, though, I just wanted your opinion on one thing.
What up?
Dan Orlovsky came out today or the other day and said that the 2008 Lions that went 0-16, he thinks that would beat them. Do you think that would be true?
Easily.
Yeah, I think so too.
They had Matt Stafford on that team. If you don't remember, and that was like right before. Wasn't Matt Stafford on that team?
No, he was drafted the next year.
Was he? Yeah, was he the draft pick they got with the 0-16 draft?
I believe so. That was Dan Orlovsky's quarterbacking team.
I'm Googling it.
I'm trying to remember who else was on that team though. I can't even remember.
Dan Orlovsky, Kevin Smith was their starting running back.
Kevin Smith.
42. They did have Megatron.
Young Megatron, though.
Young Megatron at age 23. That was his second year in the league. And then they had Dominic Raiola, who was solid as a center. Wow, their defense, though.
Kind of want to fire up Madden and make this happen.
I don't want to – oh, man, that's brutal.
6-3 final score.
Coach Rod Marinelli, the thing that put the dagger in Rod Marinelli's head coaching career.
Great defensive mind, not a coach. So.
Great defensive mind.
The opposite of Adam Gase, basically, on the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah.
Kind of touching a couple of the other games just to get through them here. Hold on, let me go back here. Because I didn't write anything down like a true champion.
Well, you're going to go to Bills-Rams. I know we want to talk a little bit.
Yeah, Bills-Rams.
The Bills almost choked that one away. They were up, 28-3?
Yeah, I thought, didn't they score something like 28 unanswered points or something like that?
Rams came back, took the lead. Bills got one final shot on a questionable pass interference call on 4th down, and then threw a touchdown as time expired. But this Josh Allen train, man, People are talking about Russell Wilson as MVP candidate. Josh Allen's right there behind him.
I think you have some very solid MVP candidates already this year where you have Josh Allen, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Russell Wilson, I think are the top three.
Yeah.
There's some guys that obviously can be named in there, like Aaron Rodgers. He's maybe not playing at MVP level. He's getting a lot of help from Aaron Jones, but you can't not mention him when his team's 3-0.
Right.
But outside of that, there's not a lot of options open for MVP right now. I think it's a very, very nobody's really set themselves away from the pack outside of that group of really quarterbacks right now. I think it's too young for running backs to really pull ahead.
I kind of feel for the Bills, though, like in a year where they're supposed to dominate the AFC East because no more Tom Brady, the Patriots bring in Cam Newton are still just as good. They're 2-1, so Buffalo's leading that division.
I was watching ESPN today, and Stephen Anthony had a good point. That
Steven Adams or Stephen Anthony.
Isn't it Stephen Anthony?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, now I'm going to Google it.
Is it Stephen A. Smith?
Stephen A. Smith.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, let's just edit that whole chunk out, and we won't even talk about that. But, yeah, I mean, if you look at that game, that was what you expected that Rams team that was so outstanding 2 years ago to be last year. They have the offensive presence. Maybe they're not as terrifying as they were because they don't have, some really real speedsters, but they are a very good offense. And I still think they are a little bit underrated. But Josh Allen has matured, and he is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch at this point because he led that game-winning drive and got the touchdown. They ended up winning the game. And you have to give a lot of credit to Josh Allen for that. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Yes, he threw a pick, but he was very, very good. And with his kind of dual capacity, it reminds me a lot of younger Aaron Rodgers, though Josh Allen's a little bit slower, where he's a danger on his feet too. And he has a cannon of an arm. So
my only issue with him, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, is his ball security issues. He did lose another fumble this week. I think when he's getting sacked or when he's running, he needs to protect that ball better. Other than that, though, he like you said, he has matured. He's a great quarterback. He is what I wanted Mitchell Trubisky to be.
I think a lot of people would be okay if the rookie quarterback turned out like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So. Going into kind of some fantasy stuff, I have a sleeper pick that may not be so sleeper after last week, which is James Robinson. First week in the league, I was like, no, I'm not going to let this guy ride. I brought James Robinson on in the free agency bench in the first week. Been outstanding ever since. If he is available in your league, go get him because he is outstanding, and I would keep him as a running back too at the lowest.
Yeah, solid week for James Robinson. I don't know how much of a sleeper he is, though. He is, not rostered in too many leagues, but he probably will be after what he did on last Thursday night.
I believe he's going to have a monster game this week, too.
The person that I'm going to take as a sleeper is T. Higgins when Cincinnati.
Okay.
Let me see if I can bring up his stats for last week here, actually. He had a decent game. I know he's not rostered in many leagues. Trust me, if I needed help at receiver, I'd be picking him up. But I'm actually pretty okay at that position right now. T. Higgins had 5 catches, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. So Burrow is looking his way. He was the second most targets after Tyler Boyd on that team. And Joe Burrow is showing he can sling that ball. So
I think one thing you need to pay note of those stats and what you just said is A.J. Green is no longer getting the targets.
6 targets.
They targeted him a lot the first week. I think they even threw him 12 targets the second week, if I'm not mistaken. And this week he didn't get too many. He hasn't produced, so they're not throwing him the ball. And that's concerning to me if I'm A.J. Green because he's not going to be back there next year.
No.
He's not getting the contract he thought he was going to get if he has a crappy year this year because he looks done.
Yeah. If
So
I'm AJ Green, I need to accept the fact that I'm on the tail end of my career, and if I can take a step back and mentor these young receivers, mentor the T. Higgins, the Tyler Boyds, some of the other young guys, the Auden Tates that they have on that team, and really help Joe Burrow develop these receivers too, that would be the best thing AJ Green can do for this team. And
for his
occasionally,
career, I think,
yeah,
because he's
mhm.
a burner receiver. He's not a route running specialist. He's not, a sideline specialist. He is a burner. That's his is go up and get it against other people. He's not doing that.
No,
So
not
if he
anymore.
wants a job in the NFL, he needs to accept he's not a number one receiver and he needs to be a mentor to these guys. Now, I don't know how much he is or isn't doing it. They don't really talk about locker room stuff on, websites or to the, media and things like that. So you don't see a lot of the roles they take unless something like quarterbacks. And it's an aging quarterback that's accepting his end gracefully by mentoring a younger quarterback.
But while we're on the topic of the Bengals there, poor Joe Burrow gets his first NFL tie before he does get his first win. And
Oh,
that
that's
was an
right.
ugly fucking game against the absolute dog shit Eagles.
Yeah, what is Eagles? You have Carson Wentz that just looks terrible.
Yeah.
He
What
looks
did I see
awful.
today? 58% quarterback rating for average this year. He's got like 6 interceptions on the year.
Yeah, they have no
Terrible.
receivers on that team, but that's no excuse for him to look that
No.
skittish in the pocket.
He was 29 of 47 against the Bengals for
If he doesn't
225
get better,
yards.
we're gonna see their draft pick.
I
I
think
would
we
say
will
by the
before
end
the
of the
year's
season.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't get his head out of his ass, you're gonna see their second round draft pick come in and take his job by the end of the season. We're talking about a guy that was an MVP candidate 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
He's about to lose his job because he's afraid to throw the football.
Yeah. People are trashing on him, but to forget he does have a ring. So, I mean, what else is there for him
He
to get?
does have a ring that Nick Foles got him.
That
You are
Rick,
correct.
yes, that Nick Foles got.
That a
But
Chicago Bear has.
yes, while we're on the Eagles, though, speaking about the rest of the NFC East, that is the worst division in football right now. The Washington
Easily.
football team is leading that division with a record of 1-2. That says something about
I
how
don't
bad
even
that
have
division is.
words. I don't have words. We just talked about it. Mike McCarthy looks like he's Mike McCarthy. That team is trash. It shows Mike McCarthy got by on Aaron Rodgers
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, hell
having
yeah.
some elite talent. But he goes to Dallas. He should be better with that Dallas roster than he is. I don't know what's going on. Maybe that defense is just that bad. But Dallas looks terrible. Ezekiel Elliott ran for like 2.8 yards a carry last week. You have the Giants, who I think are the second worst team in the league, only ahead of the Jets. So New York is just miserable right now in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniel Jones is a less talented young Eli. I think he has the inconsistent habits of a middle-aged Eli Manning, and he has the game of a lesser talented young Eli Manning. I don't think he's good. I think they need to cut him after this year and move on because I don't see it out of him. I don't see it anywhere in that team that anybody wants to be there outside of Blake Martinez. He's the only one I see that's actually looking to keep a job on that team.
Yeah. I don't know why. But yeah, it pains me that, in this expanded playoffs scenario now that somebody from that division is going to make the playoffs, and it just nobody right now playing like they deserve to be in the playoffs.
I really think they should not. I know divisions are important, right? But if we have another team that goes like 7-9 and makes the playoffs, or 6-10 out of this division and makes the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be disappointing,
Yeah.
especially if you have a 10-win team that misses.
The NFC West. Look at the teams out there right now.
Yeah, you have legitimate contenders out there. You have the Seahawks, MVP candidate Russell Wilson.
Rams
They have
and the
the
Niners.
Rams. You have the 49ers, and the Cardinals are not that bad.
No. It's gonna be a shame that one of those teams is not gonna make the playoffs because somebody from this division is, and that's not gonna be right. And it's gonna be a shame. I don't know how long the extended wild card is, but there's a good chance you could see 3 teams from that division in the playoffs.
You could, and I don't know. I mean, realistically, because they expanded it to 7 teams, right?
Teams, yeah. Top seed gets the bye, and then there's 3 wild card games per division.
Realistically, I don't think this will happen because I think right now you have 2 undefeated teams in the NFC North. You've got we don't know what the Saints are, but they could very well be back once Michael Thomas has returned.
Mhm.
The NFC South, I don't really see anybody they're threatening right now. I thought the Saints were going to do better than they did. But you could legitimately see maybe 4 teams out of a whole division going, and
That
that's
whole
what I want to
division,
see. I want to
it's
see
not
all
out
of
of the
them.
realm.
I
Yeah.
want to see the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions lose out, and I want to see 4 teams out of the AFC West make the playoffs.
So
That's my goal.
basically Packers, Saints, NFC East champion,
Packers,
and then
Saints,
everybody from the NFC West.
Packers, Saints, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. You know what? We'll see the Washington football team in there too.
The only team that I think will prevent that from happening would be the Buccaneers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only team. Unless the Bears continue to be at least a decent team.
Unless the Bears can continue on this and somehow
I have no
figure it out.
faith in anything south of Wisconsin. So
other than that, I don't know. Did we miss any other games? I mean, the Texans lost again, but they played the Steelers.
no, that's something I do want to mention. The Texans are 0-3. I don't really want to talk about it, actually, now that I think about it. The Texans are trash. The Texans are a terrible, terrible football team.
Do you want to touch on the Monday night game just a second? The fact that the Chiefs, the Chiefs-Ravens game, the game that everybody was looking forward to, and Lamar Jackson did not show up.
So I was really kind of concerned going into Sunday night on my fantasy team because I was playing a guy that I think maybe one of our guests next week is in my league with Tyler, and I think he was up by like a point into that Sunday night game. By the end of the Sunday night game, I was pretty convinced I had the game because I had Patrick Mahomes still to go, and I was up by 20, and he only had Lamar Jackson. I did not realize I was going to get 40 points out of Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson was only going to score like 10.
Yeah.
That was crazy that not only did Lamar Jackson just completely shut down, but that I don't even know what you can say about Patrick Mahomes anymore at this point. He is the best quarterback I've ever seen play the game right now.
Yeah.
He does it with such little effort.
I watched that game, and I'm like, I expected more from the Ravens. I wanted that to be a really good game, and the Chiefs are just –
a vaunted defense.
They're unstoppable. I really don't know who's going to beat the Chiefs this year.
I don't see anybody that can match up with the Chiefs. No. I don't. If you're looking at one team that should be able to give them fits, it'd be New England because that's how good Bill Belichick is as a coach.
Yeah.
I don't think even he can stop the Chiefs for 60 whole minutes.
Yeah.
We've seen this before where the Chiefs end up, they get crushed for 3 quarters. Mahomes brings them back in the 4th.
The only way I can see you beating the Chiefs is if you just have long, methodical drives that take up 8-9 minutes of a quarter.
Yep.
And
don't put the onus on your defense.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Even if you have that, the Chiefs can come out and take 2 plays to score.
Yeah.
And then your offense is right back out there.
If you want to play the Chiefs, you almost have to be explosive enough to be able to score at any time, which I would say there's a couple teams that are. The Packers come to mind.
Seahawks.
The Seahawks can score at any point with their new receiver they have out there. And Tyler Lockett has really benefited from somebody outside of him. The Ravens, they can play explosively, though they did not. And then you have to also be able to methodically take up drives. And that's not something I would normally put the Ravens in that. I would put the Titans in that. The Packers have clearly proven they can do that this year. You're going to have to go, I think, offense to offense against them because I don't see a defense in this league that can match up with what's on this squad right now.
Yeah, that's true.
You take away Tyreek Hill, you have to watch Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins. You take away Travis Kelce, you're leaving Tyreek Hill wide open downfield, and Sammy Watkins.
Not to mention Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, the new running back they have.
All of the running backs there. Yeah.
There's just too much to keep track of on that team. It's insane.
Yeah, there's no way. I think the Chiefs are going to win back-to-back.
I would put money on it. I don't see anybody stopping them right now.
Either.
And
Patrick Mahomes breaks his neck in like week 9.
Yeah.
story come week 10, but until that happens, I don't see it.
I
Much.
am scared for Patrick Mahomes, though, because this guy's life just gets better and better, if you want to look at it that way. Wins a Super Bowl, signs the biggest contract extension,
Like
proposes to
$500
his
million.
yeah, proposes to his girlfriend, gets his ring. Now it is announced today that he's having a baby.
Yep.
Like, is anything else good
You're
going to
just
happen in this dude's
expecting
life?
this karma
Yeah.
to come fuck with him is what you're looking at. Like,
He's going to
you
be
don't get all
elected
this good
president in a
shit
month.
for no reason. Yeah, like the write-ins are just Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
He wins.
That's what I'm expecting, honestly. But I'm scared, too, because there could be a huge downfall coming with something, too. Like,
wow, you are morbid.
I don't
You're
know. Like, how
fucking
good can things get for a guy? Like, honestly.
Are you just? This is just pure jealousy, like dripping out of your mouth
Kinda.
right now, a little bit.
Kinda.
Yeah, okay, okay. As
I
long
want
as we
half
got
$1
that,
billion. I mean, don't you?
I mean, I wouldn't say no.
I don't want a baby, but I'd love a Super Bowl championship too.
I don't know. If I have $500,000, I don't think I'm as concerned about having a baby as I am right now. So we'll see about that.
All right. Before we wrap things up here, let's just step away from football for a minute and talk about what else is going on. The NBA Finals will be starting here tomorrow or the next day. Miami Heat, proving everybody wrong. They are going to face LeBron James and the Lakers in the finals. I know Tyler already told me who he wants. He's all on the Heat bandwagon. They have
I'm on the Heat. I'm a Heat fan.
Too.
Like, the Heat are my team.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got disinterested in the Heat when they formed the super team. That's why I don't watch the NBA anymore.
I like how they're playing. They're playing team basketball. Everybody contributes on that team. I've loved Jimmy Butler since he was in college. He's from nearby and played in Marquette. The Bulls drafted
Jimmy
him.
Butler said he did not want to play for the Heat too.
Yeah, I do remember that at one point.
Yeah. And now he's taking them to a championship game.
Mm-hmm. I think Duncan Robinson is one of the emerging shooters. Like, that dude's stroke is amazing. He has one of the prettiest jump shots I've seen in a long time. But on the other side, I would not be upset if the Lakers won this year just for Kobe. It would be an ultimate, honor.
I'm kind of torn. I don't want to see LeBron win, but I'm starting to become a believer in LeBron. I know it's always been LeBron or Jordan, but LeBron is doing stuff Jordan never even did. So
I'm going to drop a piece of trivia on you here. It just popped into my head. This is the 34th straight finals. 34th straight finals. Where
I don't know. I don't pay attention to basketball. Let's go. Jerry West. That's the answer.
No. This is the 34th straight finals.
Tom Brady.
Where a player from either team has been teammates with this person.
The 35th straight finals.
34th straight finals.
That a person playing has been teammates
with this person. Do you know who that person is?
I don't fucking know. One of the coaches?
No. It's Shaq.
Then how?
It's Shaq.
Shaq isn't playing.
Not anymore. But the people that have been playing, there's been somebody on a team for the last 34 finals that was at one point a teammate of Shaq's.
Oh, I thought you were saying like somebody on this team has been playing the last 34 years. I was like, Grandma?
No. No.
What are you doing in the NBA?
I just think that's an amazing stat, though.
Going into one thing I did want to cover was the UFC, where Israel Adesanya absolutely dismantled Paulo Costa in 2 rounds.
2 rounds.
The first round was ridiculous, as all you saw, if you watched the fight, was Paulo Costa taunting Adesanya and getting jacked in the face. The second round was not much better. You're talking about a guy that was expected to actually put up a fight. There was questions on if he could go past 3 rounds. So you at least expected a 3-round fight. This is a dude that walked down Yoel Romero and just took the best shots he had, and he looked like a child against Adesanya. And I don't know. Now there's a little smack talk between John Jones, who's moved up to heavyweight, and now you have Israel Adesanya saying when he's done with his business at 185, he's gonna go after Jones. We'll see. I don't know, but I would love to see an Israel Adesanya versus John Bones Jones fight.
That'd be an amazing fight.
Stylebender versus Bones. Let's do it.
I knew Costa was going to be in trouble from the weigh-in pictures when he taunted him with the white belt and the black belt.
Yeah.
And like, why would you do that? Why would you, piss off somebody already more than they already are. Like,
especially with somebody with like 100 career fights under his belt.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna go back and watch the fight on ESPN Plus. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just thought it was funny that Costa found out like yesterday that Adesanya like gave him a little Humpty Hump after the ref waved the fight off, and he was pissed off about that. And I'm like, you should have
I
brought
think
your
he
A
called
game, you know?
Adesanya a piece of human trash, is what I think Costa called him. It's like, who
Oh,
cares? He still
that
beat your
piece of human,
ass.
yeah, he beat your ass. So, oh well.
Yeah, so I don't know what we
Also,
can say about
yeah, also baseball playoffs got underway here yesterday and today. The Cubs just lost to the Marlins, so I think they'll be done after tomorrow. But anywhere else, the Yankees looked amazing. I'm still waiting to see how the Dodgers fare tonight, but I think it's Dodgers-Yankees World Series. Even though I want the Chicago White Sox to be there, I think it'd be super awesome to see that young team there too. You don't have to watch the Red Sox anymore.
that. Talking shit about my Red Sox. You need to calm the fuck down for a minute and think about what you said. That's what you need to do.
They're not in the playoffs, that's for sure. Though.
You know what?
I
My
don't know what
internet's
happened.
all like unstable.
Yeah, mine is too. So that's probably the cue that we should wrap things up here. We will be back next week with a special guest host as Tyler continues his vacation, but he will return as we will next week too. So we shall see you then. Signing off, I'm Aaron.
I'm TJ.
Take her easy.